Hey, you've got an M1911A1.
Yeah, a 45. 50 years since the Army adopted the first model, and they're still using them. It's a real gem of an automatic pistol.
But aren't you gonna need more than just one little handgun?
Not at all. When you're in a tight spot or fighting in close quarters, sometimes a handgun works better than a rifle. And if I equip a knife at the same time, I can instantaneously switch over to hand-to-hand combat.
I see. That 45 you've got there is a lot different from the original, though. Looks like someone did some serious work on it.
It's more than a little. First of all, the feeding ramp is polished to a mirror sheen. It's not going to have any feeding problems. The slide's been replaced with a reinforced version, and it meshes perfectly with the frame. The frame itself has been iron welded and scraped down multiple times for maximum precision. The front strap part of the frame has been checkered to make it dig into the hand. That prevents any slipping. The sight system's original too. It's a 3-dot type. It's got an enlarged front sight, giving it superior target sighting capability. The regular hammer's been replaced with a ring hammer. That enhances the cocking control and increases the hammer down speed. They also reworked the grip safety to accommodate the ring hammer. Looks like they eliminated it altogether. This is a tool for pros. The thumb safety and the slide stop are extended to allow for more precise handling. The base of the trigger guard is whittled down so you can use a high grip. And the trigger itself is a long type for easy finger access. The trigger pull is about 3.5 pounds. That's about 1.5 pounds lighter than normal. The magazine well has been widened to make it easier to put in a new magazine. The magazine catch button has been cut down low to make it harder to hit it by mistake. The mainspring housing has been changed to a flat type to increase grip, and it's even been fitted with stepping so it doesn't slip from the recoil when firing. On top of that, they added cocking serrations to the front part of the slide. That lets you load and eject cartridges faster in an emergency. Whoever did this is a professional. No question, this thing can shoot a one-hole at 25 yards in a machine rest.
Well, I'll be damned. That's some gun.
Yeah, I've never used a weapon this fine in my life.
You say you're using a single-action army. The single-action army was first manufactured in 1873. It's been in production ever since then, except for a short hiatus. People started calling it the single-action army after the army adopted it as their official sidearm in 1875. It's also sometimes called the peacemaker, owing to the fact that a lot of sheriffs used it to keep law and order in the Old West. There are a lot of different models. The one you've got is probably the black powder model. The single-action army uses 45 long Colt rounds. It's powerful enough to fire a 255-grain bullet at an initial velocity of 800 feet per second. The muzzle energy is almost 10% higher than the 45 ACP bullets the M1911A1 uses. You want stopping power? You got it. I see you're equipped with a Scorpion. The Scorpion is a new type of small submachine gun made in Czechoslovakia.
I've heard of it, but...
But you never used one, right? Well, they only started making it 3 years ago, after all. There are a bunch of different models of Scorpion. What kind of rounds does that one take?
32 ACP.
Then it's gotta be the VZ61. The Scorpion is different from a lot of other submachine guns in that it operates on a closed bolt system, so you get a high degree of precision even when firing in semi-auto mode. Another special feature on the Scorpion is the rate reducer, a mechanism that also functions as a shock absorber. What it does is lock the bolt in place for a split second when it's in the rearward position. That keeps the firing rate down to a reasonable level, and also helps make the gun easier to control when firing in full auto mode. The Scorpion's firing rate is 750 rounds per minute. It ought to be a heck of a lot easier to control than the Mach 11, which has a rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. You should be able to handle it with one hand no problem in semi-auto mode. In full auto mode, you could probably manage short bursts. Got yourself an AK-47, huh? The AK-47 is the official assault rifle of the Soviet Army. The first model was completed in 1946, and in '49, it beat out all its competitors to become the standard assault rifle of the Soviet military. It uses 7.62mm by 39 rounds developed in 1943, and a 30-round box magazine originally designed for a different assault rifle. You can aim it from the shoulder by equipping it in first-person view and holding down the aim button. It's sturdy and extremely reliable with high power and precision. There's no better assault rifle in the world. Hey, you've got a...
I know. It's some new kind of rifle out of the West. Looks kind of like a black rifle.
No, it's not an AR-15. It's an XM-16E1, a top-of-the-line rifle that the Army adopted recently on a trial basis. The U.S. military was working on a new concept for a light infantry weapon from the late 40s through the mid-50s. In the end, they decided they wanted a .22 caliber high muzzle velocity rifle with full auto capability. What they came up with was the AR-15, the so-called black rifle. The one you've got there, the XM-16E1, is a modified AR-15 that's been fitted with a bolt forward assist. I heard they're doing performance evaluations down in Southeast Asia.
So they captured one in Vietnam and brought it here?
That's my guess. But that thing looks a lot different from a regular XM-16E1. There must have been a gunsmith present at the field test who made all these modifications on the spot. The fact that it's painted in camouflage colors shows that more and more people these days are starting to realize the importance of camouflage.
They made it so it takes a suppressor, too.
Yep, that's a nice feature to have for a recon unit on a sneaking mission deep in enemy territory. You can attach and detach the suppressor by opening the weapon window and pressing the enter button. Oh, and the firing mechanism's been modified to enable 3-shot bursts.
Why the hell would they do that?
These days, a lot of new recruits aren't used to firing in full auto mode. They have no trigger control and end up emptying the whole clip at once. Maybe they were experimenting with ways to prevent that and came up with the burst mechanism as a possible solution.
Stupid idea, if you ask me.
Hey, give it a chance. It might come in handy. Open the weapon window and press the action button to switch between semi-auto, full auto, and 3-shot burst modes. Have fun with that. Ah, you've got an SVD. That's the Soviets' top-of-the-line semi-automatic sniper rifle, adopted just last year. SVD stands for the Russian words that mean Dragunov Semi-Automatic Sniper Rifle. For a long time, the standard Russian sniper rifle was the Mosin Nagant, but at the beginning of the 1950s, when Soviet troops started carrying automatic rifles and assault rifles, the need for an automatic sniper rifle increased. The SVD was developed to fulfill that need. It can use the same ammo as the Mosin Nagant, 7.62mm by 54 rim cartridges, but they developed a new type of ammo with a tighter firing pattern to go along with it. I heard that these new rounds have a steel core and are 2.5 times more precise than regular rifle bullets. Nothing can match that thing in terms of precision. Try it out for yourself and see how powerful it is. You're using a Mosin Nagant?
Yeah, it's what the end was using.
I see. The M1891-30 Mosin Nagant is a real beauty of a bolt-action sniper rifle. It's been in use since World War II. Mosin Nagants are created by selecting the best-made weapons out of the regular M1891-30 rifle production line for their high precision, and upgrading them to sniper rifles. They add an optical sight, make the trigger pull lighter, bend the charging handle underneath, that kind of stuff. The Mosin Nagant has been known far and wide since the war for its superior capabilities. They were so highly valued that a lot of German snipers on the Eastern Front preferred to use captured Mosin Nagants instead of their own rifles. It looks like the N took the one he'd been using since the war and modified it to fire tranquilizer rounds.
Yeah, it's also been fitted with a folding stock and a pistol grip.
Maybe for parachute jumps? Well, I don't know why he did it, but that's the tool of a legendary sniper. It's gotta be a fine piece of work. But remember, the Mosin Nagant is a bolt-action rifle, so you'll have to load a new tranquilizer round into the chamber by hand every time you fire. That means no repeat firing. One shot, one kill. You say you're using a magazine? A magazine is what's left when you empty the clip of a gun. But what do you plan to do with it?
I'm going to throw it.
Throw it?
Yeah. The sound it makes when it hits the ground will distract the enemy's attention.
Ah, a diversion. Guess state-of-the-art weapons aren't the only things that determine victory or defeat. Gonna use a grenade, huh? The grenade itself is composed of 2 steel-plated casings. Each of those casings has an inner fragment liner that causes it to burst into over 300 shards when the grenade explodes. The grenade will deliver heavy damage to any enemies within its blast area. The safety pin is on the opposite side relative to the M26, so be sure to hold the safety lever down with your finger when you grip it. The safety is released when you actually throw the grenade, and it'll explode about 3 seconds later.
So what you're saying is, it won't explode in my hand while I'm holding it?
Of course not.
No.
To throw a grenade, press and release the weapon button. Remember that how far you throw it depends on how hard it's pressed. Press lightly if you want to drop it close to you, and press harder if you want to lob it away. Got some C3, I see. C3 is a type of plastic explosive developed in the West for special operations use following World War II. It's composed of 77% RDX and 23% moldable plastic. You can mold it into different shapes like clay. C3 is less volatile than TNT, so a little heat or shock won't be enough to set it off. It's extremely easy to handle and highly effective. Ah, you got yourself some claymores. The M18A1 Claymore is a new type of anti-personnel directional mine developed in the US after the Korean War. The gently curved casing is packed with 1.5 pounds of high-grade explosives. The side facing the enemy is lined with 700 steel ball bearings. So when the mine explodes, the ball bearings simultaneously burst out of the casing. Anyone in the kill zone, be he friend or foe, is instant Swiss cheese. The mine is triggered by an electric detonator. Apparently, the detonator's got some kind of special motion detector built in.
Yeah. When the mine is planted, it reacts to anything that comes close and automatically explodes.
Just make sure you don't trip your own mine or something stupid like that.
I'll be careful.
You can pick up a planted claymore by crawling over it. Mines planted by the enemy can also be picked up in this way. So if you come across a minefield, it's a good idea to crawl through it and pick up the mines. I've never seen a grenade like that one before. There are two basic types of grenades. Fragmentation grenades, which use shrapnel to kill or maim the target, and explosive grenades, which use the blast from the explosion as the offensive means. But the grenade you've got there isn't either of those. My best guess is that it's meant to knock the enemy out without hurting them. Most likely it's an entirely new kind of weapon developed exclusively at Groznygrad. I've heard that the SAS is working on a low-impact grenade for training purposes, but I never thought they'd be used in an actual battle. The flash of light that occurs when the grenade explodes is probably produced by magnesium. It's the same stuff that's used in camera flashes. I'm thinking they cut down on killing power by reducing the amount of explosives and made up for it by making the flash and bang so strong that it overwhelms the enemy's senses. I guess you could call it a stun grenade.
If I'm going to be stunned, I'd rather it be by a woman.
Snap out of it. Anyone around when that thing goes off will be laid out. It ought to come in handy when you're trying to storm a room or when you don't want to kill the enemy. Hey, what's that you're wearing?
Night vision goggles. This gadget lets me see in the dark by amplifying light and displaying it as images.
Amplifying light?
That's what it looks like to me.
Well, I'll be damned. They're working on something like that here in the States, but so far it's not viable unless it's coupled with an infrared searchlight. And now the Russians have something you can carry with them. Anyway, those goggles should give you a decent visual range, even in dark places. But don't look at anything bright like fire, or it'll get burned into your eyes and you won't be able to see for a while. Be careful. Snake, you smoking a cigarette?
It's not a cigarette. It's a cigar.
Ah, same thing?
It's not the same thing.
Doesn't matter to me. What I want to know is, why'd you take it with you?
Because I need it.
For what?
I can't smoke a cigar if I don't have one, can I?
So you just wanted to smoke?
Yeah.
Man, you got problems. Do what you want. Just keep in mind that your life goes down when you're smoking it. Those gun emplacements are Dshks, a large caliber machine gun officially adopted by the Soviet Army in 1939. The name Dshk comes from the initials of the two creators, Degtyarev and Shpagin, plus the Russian word for large caliber. They saw a lot of action in World War II. The Russians used them as anti-aircraft and anti-armor guns for position defense, vehicle turrets, and infantry support. The combined weight of the gun and the emplacements is almost 350 pounds, so you can forget about picking one up and taking it with you. The gun is gas-powered and capable of spitting out 550 rounds a minute on a belt feed system, which is bad news for you when the enemy's using it. Hide behind something and lob a grenade at it, or attack it from outside the emplacement's firing angle. Either way, it's not a good idea to rush at it head-on, or you might try using a smoke grenade to put up a smoke screen that'll cover your approach. If you manage to get close to a gun emplacement, you can take it over by pressing the action button. The weapon button controls the trigger. Beware though, the ammo supply is limited. To move away from a gun emplacement, just press the action button again. Use it when you need the upper hand.